Good morning. It's good to see Mr. Johnson down there at Epcot with Mr. Davidson this morning.
Good morning. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I think everybody else can too, I'm sure. So
we don't want to feel like we're screaming, but we're also dancing because if we get too close to the center, we get blinded by the overhead projector. So trying to stay away from the projector and be able to see the board behind us. But I also feel like I scream when I'm too far away. So
sure.
We are here at Epcot this morning in the computer science lab. This is Miss Jennifer Johnson, one of your former Bridgeport Tigers.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk to you this morning about computer science. I'm really excited about this because for the first time going through these Workday Wednesdays, Mr. Colvin, or World of Work Wednesdays, we were talking about one that can be academic as well as career tech.
Awesome.
And when you talk about something like computer science that can be academic, it feeds into a lot of the programs that we've already talked about here. If you can go back and remember some of the videos that we've already mentioned, whether it be precision machining or the computer-aided design and drafting with Ms. Clark 2 weeks ago, you can see where this class integrates into those programs. But I think for the first time, you can see a real connection back to your school at Bridgeport Middle. If we've got any elementary schools watching this morning, definitely our high schools, these classes that we're talking about today can be taught on your campus. If they're not being taught this year at the high schools, I'd be surprised. But I think all 6 of our high schools are teaching at least one computer science course. And hopefully next year we'll all have a computer science embedded into our middle school. And then later on, we'll get it in every grade level, even in elementary. Because if we don't prepare them in the elementary and middle, then we can't make this program here blossom. Because think about this as a spoke that if you take computer science, you can go in so many different directions with that, whether it be, she's going to show you several different things that they're doing in class, but just imagine how many jobs in the world 20 years down the road are going to connect back to a computer science coding class that a student takes while they're in K-12.
And I think with our proximity as a county to Huntsville, with Google being right here in Bridgeport, and with opportunities that are going to come up with the New Innovation Career Academy in the industrial park, I think this is just going to be a place where things can absolutely blossom, and students a place where you're all going to have, if you want to get into this, you're going to have every opportunity in the world to be very successful. So, Ms. Johnson, looking forward to hearing about it this morning.
Yeah.
And we're using one computer again, so if you can filter all the questions through your voice, and we'll answer those questions as quickly.
Absolutely. Make sure, guys, if you got any questions, just put those in the chat box, and we'll be more than happy to relay those and go from there.
Hey, 2 last things actually before we start. Mr. Colvin, can you go over where folks can find these videos after this week or after today, where you're saving these videos? And 2, we've got a teacher out there at North Sun Mountain, Miss Dana Keller, that has been putting together some resources to use for career prep classes. How can we share and utilize those resources? Because Ms. Johnson has several resources that we can add to that as well, that we can share with you to put on those pages.
All right. So what we're doing is we're putting these. It takes a little bit of time to do it. Last week we had a little bit of a technical issue to get it going. But these are all going on YouTube. They're all going under the title Tiger Talk - World of Work Wednesday, and then it'll have the instructor's name and course content that they're presenting about. So, like if you go to Tiger Talk - World of Work Wednesday, and you would have typed in, if you would have just typed that in, you should have gotten the 3 or 4 YouTube videos that have already been posted there. They'll be posted by me, so it'll say Colvin J at jacksonak12.org. Ms. Keller, if there is a way, I'll try to get with you today, and maybe we can get a shared drive or something set up so that everybody can have access to that if you're good with that. If that sounds good to everybody.
Sounds great from my end. Thank you. Here's Ms. talking to you about computer science.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to AP Computer Science Principles. I'm going to start out by telling you just a little bit about how we start the year and how the class runs. And then I'm going to show you some of the neat things and the projects that we've worked on so far this year. The first thing that we start out doing is talking about the internet. how the internet operates, what actually happens when you Google a site, how the computer gathers that information. Then we move on into digital citizenship, where we talk about things like censorship. We talk about the digital divide. And then the main part of the meat of what we do in computer science is coding. And we start the year out working with block programming in Snap. And then toward the end of the year, we go to actually writing code in Python, which is a programming language. If you'll look up on the board, these are a few of the projects that my students have done this year. This one over here, these two black and white, these are black and white pixelation projects. And what the students had to do was find a logo of their choice or create their own logo, and then actually write the code in binary, and that would draw this. So this student, I think this is some kind of a musical group. He actually wrote the code for this, and it's all in ones and zeros. This student chose an Apple logo, and then we moved on into color, where code was actually written in a Snap program to draw modern art. And these were just two of the modern art projects. I'm also going to show you in just a minute how what this code actually looks like, because these students didn't just draw this up here, they actually wrote the code and the sprite draws. So I'm going to go over to my desk and pull up a little sheet. I'll show you first the code that was written for this, or part of it, because I think it was maybe 3 or 4 pages long. And then we'll go on and I'll show you some of the other activities.
Ms. Cotton, while she's pulling that up, I want to mention this too. We're in an environment that's very similar to a normal classroom here. So it's a very clean environment. Just imagine as we go into the Innovation Center, an atmosphere that would be similar to an office space where you have flexible seating, computers, a lot of monitors, just a lot of technology, and a lot of electronics. Very similar to what kids are using even in the classrooms at traditional schools, but just with a lot more opportunity for electronics in front of them. The other thing,
I imagine, Mr. Davidson, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for collaboration in this as well.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of movement, a lot of collaboration, a lot of teaming up, because you're talking about millions of lines of code for some programs. Mm-hmm. So imagine having to do that alone would take you years, but you're working on a team to build a project. So a lot of collaboration and creativity comes out.
Right. So if you'll look up at the board right now, and this may be blurry for some of the students to see, but this was written in code.org. And all of this is just ones and zeros. The ones represent the black that you see, and the zeros represent the white in the background. All right, and so now I'm going to move on to an art project. This was a 10th grader. And if you notice, you can see in advance what she drew, but here is the code that she wrote for that. And I'm going to run the code, and you'll actually see the sprite draw each one of those designs.
Can you see that, Mr. Scott? Or do I need to zoom in a little closer?
We can't see the words really well. They're a little bit blurry, but we can see. Okay, that's better. Yeah, that's better.
What she's going to do is she's going to be able to share those links possibly so that we can put it in a resource or a page on the video so that folks can see that, or teachers can pull that up firsthand in their classroom if they would like.
So this is the code that was written over on the left. And then this is what it actually drew. And so now I'm going to show you a different one.
While she's pulling that up, I always think of coding as it's rooted in English, and the fact that that really looks like an outline to me. So if you're talking about in English and you're creating an outline for your work, which part goes with what, keeping it in order, stepped at a time, using correct punctuation, that would help you tremendously when you're writing code.
Right. And so this is another modern art project that a student did. I think this student is maybe a senior. So every movement of that little sprite, that arrow, is coded into the block code over here. And believe it or not, but there's a lot of math involved in this because you want to think of that stage as a coordinate plane. So they had to tell the sprite where to go. Now, another project that we've done this year, and this is just one of them, is a digital story. And this one was done about a little town in Alabama, towns with quirky names. This town was called The Bottle. And so this student actually wrote the code for this, and it tells the story of how the little city got its name.
So you can see, Mr. Calvin, that this is going to be, you're using coding to tell a story, but imagine how many cross-curricular activities you could create when you're using computer science, whether it be English, we've already mentioned, history here, math and science. And I want to hit on math and science because at the high school level, taking a computer science course can count as a math or a science credit. That is huge. Because if you're thinking about the block scale, or if you're thinking about a 9 through 12, you have to have 4 math credits or 4 science credits to graduate. And you really don't want to take 4 individual math courses. You would rather take a computer science. Computer science could be that 4th math credit, or if you chose for it to be your 4th science, it could also be your 4th science credit.
I've even seen things where you can do like PE, and that, you know, you could even do cross curricular with PE.
Oh, absolutely.
Also, the good thing about this class is that it is an AP course as well. So if you would like to take the AP or do the AP side of it, we're going to do the curriculum anyway, but it just requires taking a test, creating a project, which is something that we do in class, and it counts as a college credit in computer science.
And that is the credential for this class. Like we talked about credentialing options and all the other career tech classes, the credential option with this is taking an AP exam.
And I think students, one thing that I think Mr. Davidson, Ms. Johnson, and anybody else would want to emphasize is them, you know, how big of a deal it is to get a credential in something like that. Credentials and certifications that you can get through classes like that at Epcot are a huge deal. So we can't push that enough.
I've always mentioned credentials in the same language as a lot of our video gamers out there that play games, and they realize that as they play games, they level up or they collect a badge or a token or something that gets them to the next step. That's the exact same equivalent of getting a credential. Once you get a credential, then you're just adding to your portfolio. You're just adding that to your collection. As you get older, those things don't ever get taken away from you. You just develop those skills further and further.
Right.
And then with coding, I don't even know where to start telling you how many different languages there are. She's mentioned Python to you, C++. Back several years ago, we had Fortran, JavaScript. So the list goes on and on. So imagine if you passed the AP exam in computer science, how many different languages could you quickly develop?
Right. And this class works very well, as Mr. Davidson said, with some of the other tech classes. I know Mr. Kane does programming in his class. So I have a lot of students in here who also take his class. And also we have drafting at the hall, and it works very well with drafting. I did a little research on computer science majors and their job opportunities and salary opportunities. A computer science major, computer science is a big job outlet right now. You can be a computer programmer, you can be a software engineer, you can be a software developer, you can go into cybersecurity, but all of those salaries, the median range is $100,000 and up a year. So that's a big salary for someone coming out.
6 figures entry level is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, if you're living in Jackson County, that's going to probably put you in the top 1% of earners anywhere in Jackson County.
Right.
Absolutely. And 3 things that you want to research out there in the classrooms, if you've got if you've got students interested in this, is go to code.org and look at code.org. They are a foundational website that, whether you're in Minnesota or Vermont or Alabama, code.org is nationally recognized. She's already mentioned A+ College Ready, and we know that through North Jackson was an A+ College Ready school. So a lot of your students are familiar with that concept of A+ and A+ College Ready. But code.org is huge. Also look up Girls in Coding. So there are opportunities out there for everyone, but specifically any female that's interested in coding, the sky is definitely the limit for you, especially in the area that we're in. Girl coding positions will be prevalent for everyone that's hearing this. Whether
if you're a female and you've got any interest in this at all, you're going to have guys. You're going to have every job opportunity in the world. So.
And the other one I want to mention is everybody is familiar with Governor Ivey. She issues every year something called the Governor's App Challenge, APP. So just look up, teachers, if you will, the Governor Ivey's Alabama Governor's App Challenge. I don't know what the deadlines are. They're getting close, but that is something that kids can do independently or as a club or as a group. But there's not a lot of participation in the past few years because it's relatively new. And so if you have an interest in that, you may have an opportunity to win some big prizes with that.
Awesome.
How are we?
Any questions anybody's got? If you've got those questions, go ahead and type those in for us.
Surely we've got some, and it looks like we've got a host of participants this morning from various.
We got several folks on. So if anybody's got any questions, I think you've done a pretty good job of being thorough as always and answering most of that. Anybody have any questions? Okay.
There's one.
It just says great job.
Thank you.
So, all right. Well, if anybody does have any questions at a later time, I'll be sure you can either email Ms. Johnson. Her email is johnsonj@jacksonkTwelve.org, or Mr. Davidson or myself, and we'll try to make sure that we get those answers out. As always, thank you all for participating today. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Next Wednesday is Veterans Day, so we will not be in school a week from today.
Correct.
So next time we meet, or we're doing this alphabetically if folks have not figured out the pattern here, but the next person that we have is Mr. Jeremy Johnson, and he is in the welding department.
Guys, welding, again, there will not be World Work Wednesday next week. We will have welding on the 18th.
And
two weeks from today.
There have been a video posted, and it will be shared if it hasn't already. Whitney Clark and Miss Debbie Wooten, the career coaches, they are doing these theme videos for each month. So we are almost, we have started a new month, but going back for the month of October, they put a collaborative video together for everything that was in the cluster called Architecture on Construction. So if you haven't seen that video, email Miss Wooten or Miss Clark, and we can hopefully share that YouTube link with you. It's posted to the EBCOT Facebook, and it should be on the Twitter page soon. But that is a great video that shows a lot of the things that we've already talked about and a preview to some of the things that's yet to come, including welding is in that video.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, guys. Thank everybody for joining us. I'm going to turn the recording off now. BMS, if you'll stay around for just a minute and talk to you guys. Y'all have a good day, everybody else.
Seeing you.